Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Christian Recorder Dialogues. As always, please feel free to click in the chat, give us your name, Episcopal District, Bishop, whatever you'd like to share. Today, we are honored to have with us Congressman Glenn Ivey from the great state, the old line state of Maryland. Congressman Ivey, welcome to the Christian Recorder Dialogues today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Now, I would say that Congressman Ivey, for those of you who are AMEs of the Second Episcopal District, he is probably no stranger to you, and the Ivey family is no stranger to PG County. So we're looking forward to this great discussion we have today. I was on Capitol Hill a few days ago talking with Leader Hakeem Jeffries, along with Bishop Reginald Jackson and Bishop McKenzie, and a pastor from the 6th District. So we're involved and engaged in DC in these very interesting times. But Congressman Ivey, welcome here with us. And let's just go ahead and get into our interview. So the first question I'd like to ask you, we always ask our panelists, is what is your relationship with the AMU Church? And tell us about your faith overall.
Well, I'm a Christian and, was raised originally from Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and went to St. Mark's AMU Church down there for years. My parents were, not AME, but, that's the church we ended up settling on. We moved out of there when I got to 3rd grade. My father got a job in Washington, D.C. with the Department of Labor. So we moved up. We settled in Dale City, Virginia. My mom started working for the school system up here. We went to churches in the area, but it was, we didn't have an AME experience really. It was predominantly white area. In fact, it was like a heavily white area. So we didn't have the same kind of Black experience from a church standpoint that we did in Rocky Mount. But after I got out of school, got back, we moved to Prince George's County, started going to church again. And then when I ran for state's attorney and got elected, one of the things we did was a lot of outreach to and through the faith community, largely AME, but not solely, Baptist churches, Catholic churches, different religions. I mean, for me, trying to reach people where they are is the key to being an effective government official. So the AME Church has been a real principal co-leader from my perspective. It has made a huge difference in the community. And I like to do a lot of programs whenever possible, working with the faith community, because it's a great way to reach people where they are and get things done.
And I should say that I met you on the front row of Ebenezer AM Church for Washington. And I should say, that I've been doing this for a while, and we've seen many politicians at various levels come in and go in our churches. And we can tell when someone is there for, that Sunday morning, okay, I got to make my circuit, versus someone who is actually there for the service, and someone who's at home with us. And it really struck me how you were welcomed, and how people came up to you afterwards like that was you were like at home, and the people knew you. And that speaks volumes, I think, of the type of congressman you are, the type of individual you are, the type of representative that people actually felt the authenticity of you being there.
Well, I appreciate that. And I think for a lot of people, they don't know if it's okay to come up and talk to a congressman, or even when I was state's attorney, sometimes people felt uncomfortable about it. But, when you go worship with them and you're there 2-3 hours together and they see you over time, they get more comfortable, and it's a safe space. They feel like they can have conversations. When I was state's attorney, people would come up and, they had a kid who was in jail, or, that kind of thing. Really tough conversations in some instances, but you could have them with people because you met them at a place where, there was a common understanding, and they felt comfortable and knew that you would listen to them and hear them out because they knew your heart was in the right place. So that's something that makes a difference. From my perspective, it's important to be really effective as a public servant. You've got to listen to what what the people are telling you. And it's a great place to have a chance to hear from them in a very authentic and powerful way.
Wow. So let's change tack for a little bit. So again, you are Congressman Glenn Ivey, but we know the Ivey family is no stranger to Maryland politics, and you and your family have been involved in a variety of positions of public service. So just tell us, how did you get involved in politics?
Well, I mean, I was interested in politics in a way when I was a kid. So when I was in North Carolina, it was still segregated. And, the
Wow.
civil rights movement was working its way through the country. Dr. King was, leading those marches, but, there were the millions of foot soldiers that made a difference and making those marches effective and leading to laws that changed the country and gave people like me a chance to live a life that my parents and grandparents definitely didn't have a chance to live. So, I had a chance to see the power of that, and, thought that, I'd like to be involved and try and make a difference in that way. So when I got out of law school, I went into the private sector and worked for a while, paid off some bills. But then I had a chance to go to Capitol Hill and work for Congressman John Conyers, the icon out of Detroit, Michigan. And that was a transformative experience too. So during that time, I started working for him in 1987. Jesse Jackson ran for president in 1988. That's another one of those, obviously he didn't win the race, but you could see the impact of what the campaign alone did as far as changing the dialogue and I think elevating progressive causes, especially within the African-American community. And that deepened my interest as well. So, 2002, I ended up running for state's attorney in Prince George's and won.
Wow. And so from PG County State's Attorney, for many of you all, that's the district attorney. You were you were the law and the law and order. So how did we go from there to Congressman Ivey?
Well, I mean, I had, I was in the state's attorney's office from 2002 to 2010, decided not to run for reelection, went back into private practice. I got 6 kids. None of them had a jump shot, so we needed to do some work, pay for college tuition a little bit through there. And my wife was also in office too. And so I thought it would be okay from the standpoint of me going back and trying to build up some legacy wealth for the family while she continued work in public service. And, it worked out pretty well. So it, went for a while. Then I, saw the opening to try and run for Congress. Donna Edwards had been the member of Congress. In 2016, she decided to run against Chris Van Hollen for a Senate seat and vacated the congressional seat. So I ran, but I lost. I lost to Anthony Brown and said, well, I guess that's it. He'll probably spend his career in Congress there. And I went back to private practice. But lo and behold, he decided in 2022 to run for Attorney General in Maryland, opened up the congressional seat. I ran for it again, and this time we actually won. So it was a real blessing. I felt like I didn't think it was going to happen after I lost in 2016, but sometimes you stay prepared and things come together for you, and it all worked out. So I'm blessed in that regard.
There are a couple of things, me of the millennial generation, and I know some of the more seasoned saints listening to this will probably perhaps understand as well. But for me, like listening to someone and hear you about what it meant to walk with the John Conyers, what it meant to see Jesse Jackson run. And I'm thinking about what it meant to be in Chicago when I was seeing Barack Obama going from, we don't think he'll make it, but we'll throw in some dollars, to being the Democratic nominee and the president. And also reflecting on the cost of public service, like hearing you say, 6 kids, public service is public service. Most of the people, we hear about billionaires and millionaires in DC, but most of the people in Congress, AOC said, look, I can't even get an apartment. And there are people who are in between those gaps. I'm just hearing, that's why there are the barriers to public service for people of African descent. And to hear, the cost, that it took to really do this. And the partnership, in the AMU Church, we had both Val Demings and her husband both worked together. And when we interviewed her back when she was still in Congress, she talked about, how, they work together, but they also have Chinese walls in between their different political pieces. So it's just nice to hear about the partnership, as well as understand through your voice the cost, but also, as we say in the church, you were delayed, but not denied.
Yeah, it was delayed. I didn't get elected until I was 61. The funny thing of that was I came in with Max Frost out of Florida. Actually, he replaced Val Demings. And I got kids older than Max. I think he's 27 now. So, so I'm a freshman. I'm probably the oldest freshman around, but, it was good balance to come in with somebody, and have that kind of age range. And he's a talented guy, man. He's really phenomenal. So it's been a blessing. And the upside, I guess, too, is that I bring a lot of experience, 4 decades worth, pretty much, to the job when I got here. So I certainly was well prepared for the moment. And now that Trump is the president, you need all the preparation you can get, because this is a fight for all the marbles here with this guy. He's really devastating. Government employees in my district, Prince George's County, Maryland, has tens of thousands of federal employees, many of whom have been forced out of their jobs. He's destroying the economy. He's attacking in the private sector as well. These scurrilous attacks on DEI, have just been really insane, trying to strike us from the history books, blocking any chance for us to get, positions in, sometimes entry-level positions in these corporations. It's pretty incredible. And then the cuts across the board are damaging too, to, like, say, Medicaid, taking school lunches away from kids who, can't afford it on their own, cutting healthcare access to, low-income people, grandma, elderly, it's astonishing what he's doing. So I feel very blessed to have a chance to fight this fight and be out there trying to help people who are going to really be hurt by what Trump is doing. We need to make sure we fight against it at every level and every possible way.
And I know our time is short, because I know we caught you in between meetings, but the thing that was on my mind when I was in DC with Leader Jeffries and Congressman Clyburn and Congressman Cleaver that was asked in the room is, what do we do? So I want to ask you, as one of the 435 sitting in the House, what can the average citizen do to be active and make a difference in this moment?
Yeah, one of the things we're working on right now is trying to help regular people, everyday people, as Sly Stone would say, find ways to get involved and be active. Part of that is, sometimes people do get out to vote. Sometimes they work on voting, registration. All of those things are good. But I think we have to be even more targeted about it right now, because we can't afford to wait until the next set of elections in 2026. We've identified a number of House Republicans who are, vulnerable in the sense of they didn't win their elections by much. Some of them are in districts that Harris carried, for example. We need people to go work in those districts, especially if they live there. It's like Virginia too is Norfolk, Virginia area. That's one of those areas where we have very significant African-American population. We had a Republican that just barely won it, over the last couple of years. That's a seat we can take back. And to the extent we start demonstrating that now, people in those seats are going to say, well, maybe I shouldn't vote for the cuts that Trump's talking about, or maybe I should agree to some kind of a compromise that will sort of lessen the pain and the damage to these communities. So we need those kinds of things now. We need people to go out like we did in the old days, the rallies, the marches, the protests, the boycotts, all of those things that worked during the civil rights era can work again now. We've got to be structured about it. We've got to be very strategic about it. And we got to be very disciplined about it. One thing people forget is, during the civil rights era, folks didn't just go out and march. They were trained in how to do it, how to, engage in nonviolent protests and the like without being provoked into doing something damaging to the cause. And so that's important. Financial support for efforts. A lot of the legal cases are run by volunteer lawyers or lawyers who are working for a lot less than they usually charge. A lot of these are funded in large part by unions or advocacy groups. But, if you can help with supporting those, a group like, say, Democracy Forward, that's filed many of the 200 cases that are out there against the Trump administration and gotten, I think they're like at 70 or 80 injunctions, temporary restraining orders against the Trump administration to block them from what they're trying to do. That's helpful too. So there's a lot of ways you can make a difference. And, we're looking to help, looking for help from whether it's the sororities, the fraternities, the D9 can make a difference. The faith community can make a huge difference, just like it did in the civil rights era. And we've got to make sure that all our institutions, HBCUs and the like, are focused on supporting this too. Those have been the backbone for African-American advancement and achievement in the past. We need all hands on deck again to make it happen now.
Thank you for that. I'm just going to go ahead and flash. You mentioned Democracy Forward. I should say that I didn't tell you all this, but I give them a monthly something, a widow's mite, just like I give ACLU. And I mean, it's not a lot, but in this moment, every little bit helps, like we're seeing. So, Congressman, I thank you for giving us those action steps. For those who are watching, again, repetition as well. So again, it does matter when you reach out to your congressperson, particularly if you're in a purple district. Even if it's a blue district, support your congressperson. Tell them we got your back. And if it's a red district, tell them to do something. Democracyforward.org is one group. And I'm sure where you are, there is a group that you can work with. But also look at, again, what the AMU Church is doing. If you're a Greek, what your Greek organization is doing. Look at your community, because the community is mobilizing, and it doesn't have to be something big, but people are noticing and watching. So, Congressman, I know you have to go, and I thank you for the minutes that you gave us today. These are precious minutes, and I know that the people who have watched this will be motivated to do something. I know your office has indicated that there are some things that you'll be sharing with us from time to time that we definitely want to have. So any final words for our listeners right now as we wrap up this first of what we hope several conversations with you, sir?
Well, this is the time for involvement. This is the time to run and not get weary. This is the time to fight the good fight. Like I said, we need all hands on deck. And many of us have experience in fighting these things in one way or another, but just we need to make sure we pull all of it together, pull all of our talents together, and make sure we use them in every way possible, whether it's direct opposition to the Trump administration. It might be writing letters. I've got a team that's going to work on opposition to regulatory changes, because that's a group of lawyers that had experience doing regulatory work. But if you don't have that, you know how to call people, you know how to email folks, you know how to tell them, hey, don't cut $881 billion out of Medicare. Regular folks like me need that. Go take it from Elon Musk or the billionaires. Those are the kinds of messages we can get out that can really make a difference. And you guys use every sphere of influence you have to reach folks, energize them, mobilize them, and we can make a difference and win. So
you heard from the congressman. If you haven't sent your congressperson a letter this year, What are you waiting for? Go get you a stamp. That's, I think, 75 cents. Send a letter and send the email to Congressman Ivey. Thank you so much for today. We look forward to hearing from you again. And everyone, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again on the Christian Recorder Dialogue.